Yo, what's going on, everybody? Today is Monday, July 14th, 2025. Bitcoin block height 905,514. Transaction fees 4 sats per VByte, low priority, 5 sats per VByte, medium priority, and 6 sats per VByte, high priority. Just over 15,000 unconfirmed transactions in this mempool. Bitcoin USD price pumping a little bit today, up to 121,882 US pieces of paper. 24-hour high was 123,231. 24-hour low was 118,180. One US dollar gets you 820 Satoshis. Well, I guess I'm never going to get Bitcoin below 100K again. Is that what we're saying here? My last purchase, I think I got it at 99 last month. This month, man, I was on a streak, 6 months out of the year, we got Bitcoin below 100K. And this month, it just might break. A 20K drop. We could see it. We have seen 30% drops in Bitcoin before, 80% drawdowns, all types of crazy stuff. But at this time, we're probably not going to see it because of the time it is, like in the epoch, the Bitcoin cycle. It's probably just going to go, it's probably going to run up before it draws down 30%. So it's probably going to go to like I don't even know. Let's just say 170. And then it'll come down to like 150, 140, something like that. So whatever. I don't know. When you get in here for a little while, I guess I shouldn't even think of the price. Just don't even think of the price. Just stack regardless of the price. But after you've been in here for a little bit, you start to think and you start to say, you know what? Instead of buying all throughout the peaks and troughs, the ups and downs, I should have just stacked some cash on the sideline during that whole bull run. And I should have just waited and then bought at like 3K or 16K or 58K, you know, the major points in Bitcoin where it had these drop downs. In recent memory, you know, I don't know. I'm not too early to Bitcoin. But then you're like, oh, this time is different. This time's different. You get the FOMO. You're like, well, maybe it never will come down. I guess that's the mindset that it puts people in. That's why emotions, it's so hard. With any financial asset, Bitcoin just happens to be the best financial asset ever. But with anything, it's hard to keep your emotions in check, even with like real estate, because the market, it makes you think one thing, like, okay, it's going up, it's going down, whatever you're thinking in the moment. But then it holds that position for just long enough to make you think, well, maybe this time's different. It ain't ever coming down. Or if it's in a bear market and it's low, it just holds that bear just long enough when you're thinking, oh man, maybe it's never going back up. Maybe it's over. And then what it could do too, it'll pump even more in that direction. So in a bull market, you'll think that it's never going down, and then it'll pump even higher, and you'll be like, shit, now I really got to get in. And in a bear market, it's been so low. I remember when it happened at 6K, Bitcoin was like 6K for a while. I was like, man, 6K, and just thinking like, all right, 6K, just here it is. It was at 6K for like a couple months. I don't know. It seems like forever, right? But if you look back, it's nothing. It's short time. And then what does it do? It drops by half. It goes down to like 3K. It's like, well, fuck. So The market, man, it has ways to abuse you emotionally. That's for damn sure. So maybe I just throw a little bit in. I don't know. I'm trying to be smart. That's what happens. You try to outsmart the market. Sometimes, maybe, I don't know, you wind up outsmarting yourself. It's just a thought I had. Maybe, if you don't have any Bitcoin, ignore this. You just have to get in there and stack. If you got a little bit, maybe you can start playing a little. Yeah, you start trying to outsmart yourself. Who knows, but you already got a little, so you're okay to play the game. And then we got this stuff going over here. Metaplanet adds 797 Bitcoin to treasury. Do they really? Bhutan moves 62 million in Bitcoin to Binance. Do they really? We need to start checking this shit on chain, man. Like what is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? Is Lightning? Is that Bitcoin? No, it is not Bitcoin. Lightning is not Bitcoin. Are Bitcoin ETFs Bitcoin? No, they are not. Bitcoin ETFs are not Bitcoin. Is MicroStrategy Bitcoin? No, MicroStrategy is not Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is Bitcoin. And what is Bitcoin? It's layer 1 on-chain Bitcoin, and that's it. If you got some other derivative, some other layer 2, whether it's Lightning Network, whether it's a company, all this, anything that's tethered to Bitcoin somehow, it ain't fucking Bitcoin. It's just a Bitcoin affinity scams. And I don't know if I would go so far as saying a scam, but the way that they're presented is as if they are Bitcoin itself. And that's just not true. And it's crazy that people just fall for it. And I think it's because the dollar, of course, we know the dollar is unlimited. So what happens is these people have unlimited funds, unlimited dollars that they can just throw out there. And they just pay people. They'll pay these people, good amounts of fucking cash, right? They'll pay you fucking whatever, a decent amount. And you'll be happy with that shit, and you'll start pumping it. And you'll be like, yeah, that shit's good, man. Okay, buy this treasury company, buy this stock. But no, dude, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. And you just got to remember, what does Bitcoin solve? Bitcoin solves a lot of things, but one of the major things that it solves is it removes the middleman. You don't need to trust nobody in the middle of your money. So whenever you got anything else, you're adding that risk. You're adding that middle person back in. Lightning Network, you're adding another risk. Treasury companies, stocks, ETFs, all this crap. You're adding a layer of risk in between you and your Bitcoin. So just remember, that's what Bitcoin solves. It removes the middleman. You got your money, permissionless money, trustless money. You hold it. You can send it whenever you want. And all this crap that's coming in between, it's not Bitcoin. But I guess, that's this cycle, dude. This cycle shitcoin is, we had the ICOs, we had, the NFTs, we had a bunch of stuff. And look, people just love to gamble, the quick, fast cash. People just love to do it. And I love to do it too. So, hey, maybe I'll take a little something, throw it in there. I love to do it too. I'm no different, but I like to keep perspective when this stuff's going crazy. And this has actually kind of screwed me in the past because I keep perspective and I'm like, yeah, Bitcoin's really where it's at. I'm just going to hold Bitcoin. And then you miss out. You miss out on the shitcoin gains. You see all this shit going crazy. But it's a risk because it goes up in just this short little time period, and you can ride the ride, but you gotta get off. If you don't get off the ride in time and back into Bitcoin, then you're screwed. Then the Bitcoin people come out and they're like, see, you should have just held Bitcoin. But there's time periods in there during these bull markets where if you are in something else, it goes up a lot faster. It just doesn't last as long as Bitcoin. So that's gambling. And it is fun. And, I do like to do it as well. So, so maybe I might get a little gambling going. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But, even if I do, it'll just be a small percentage. It's not going to be anything crazy. And that's just how you have to keep it. All right, let's take a look here at Bitcoin Spaces Protocol. Naming on Bitcoin, human readable public keys. DNS on Bitcoin. Huge. Right now, little known project. Not many people talking about it. But this is a huge project here. Once they come out with subspaces, still, this thing's under development. Going to be huge. It just makes sense. Somebody's going to do it. Here it is right here. Total Bitcoin burned, 1.5048 Bitcoin. And the way it works is you don't register these names with anyone. So the Bitcoin gets burned through op return. It's about 60 bytes, I believe. It doesn't bloat the chain with the UTXO bloat. It doesn't have it doesn't have burn addresses or anything like that. It's just burned through op return. You can look up the specs, spacesprotocol.org. So you just register these things with the Bitcoin blockchain. You can see them all on chain, the transactions and everything. So only 1.5 Bitcoin burned, still super early. You can look at other projects and other things. They're doing 1 Bitcoin a day, easy. They're doing 1 Bitcoin an hour, so this protocol has been out for like 8 months and it's only burned 1.5 Bitcoin. So, there's a lot here. It's still in development too, though. That's the thing about it. I would like to see more adoption, and that's what prompted me to make these videos. Like, hey, this is a really good protocol, permissionless protocol, cypherpunk protocol, respects Bitcoin. It's not some one and done pump and dump scheme where the founders are getting rich and everybody else is screwed. It's a well-designed protocol that is trying to actually improve the adoption of Bitcoin itself. No separate blockchain, no separate token. Bitcoin is the currency. So it's really cool. And yes, I'm early in this thing. And I don't know, it's weird being early in something. I guess in the grand scheme of things, I'm early to Bitcoin too. But it didn't seem like it because it was already thousands of dollars. And then this, it's like, you look at these guys. These guys are claiming names for $1, 1,000 Satoshis, and these guys are registering names. Permissionless, you own it. No one can take it from you. They work for Nostr, NPubs. You can convert Nostr NPubs into these human readable names. And these things are called top level spaces. And you could have subspaces on top of it. So they are private, where you could just create a bunch of burn addresses. You can create a bunch of human readable names. They're like .coms. So if you're familiar with traditional domain space and you own the .com top level space, like imagine that, right? You own the .com. That's crazy valuable, right? Well, here you own the top level space and every name that comes before it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can give it away. You can sell them. You can create a business like some people are doing and sell or give away like social network IDs. Everyone signs up. They get the subspace. So that's not out yet, though. The subspaces, that I'll estimate that probably comes out like October. So that's what I'm saying. This thing's still under development. You can check it out, spacesprotocol.org, GitHub, whatever. They got all that stuff. They came out with a wallet, Akron.io, but the wallet isn't even Windows yet. So it's only Mac and Linux. You can't even get a Windows wallet for this thing, a GUI wallet. So it's all command line, CLI, command line interface. And that's why it's only 1.5 Bitcoin, Plus, not a lot of people know about it either. So there's some things to it, but they're developing the protocol. They're building out the code right now. And it is crazy that I'm here. Like, and I'm not even that technical. That's the craziest thing. I spun up a Bitcoin node for the first time, figured out how to run spaces with the node. Somehow, dude, it took me long nights trying to figure out how to do it. But I did it, you know? If you're curious about it, you'll do it. And it's been a long time coming. Like, I needed to run a Bitcoin node. And that, what it did was it helped me learn other stuff. Like, okay, I got a Bitcoin node now. Now, what can I do with that node? Nothing at first. I was like, all right, it's just a node that's just sitting there. Then I was like, oh, I got to connect my Bitcoin wallets to these nodes. Let me verify that I hold this Bitcoin instead of trusting someone else's node. Let me connect my Bitcoin wallets right to this node and see what is in there. And then also when you send stuff, it's like, let me validate those transactions right on my node. Let my node tell me when there's a new block. Let my node tell me when my transaction's been confirmed. You know, all these things. And also there's cool stuff too. You know, the Bitcoin config file, there's all this stuff you can learn about. You can set all these settings in your node. It's just all types of stuff. Minimum, I messed up with the minimum transaction fee. I set that to like 3 sats per VByte. And in my Bitcoin config file. And I was bidding on a space and the fees dropped to like 1 sat per VByte. I put it in and it said that it went through, but I did get an error. So I got an error, but I saw it on the Explorer for some reason. And then when I went to claim it, it said, no, it's invalid. So what happened was, I think, is that another node relayed it or other nodes relayed it, but my node didn't relay it. My node, because it had that rule, 3 sats or up, it only relayed. So it had that rule in there. It didn't relay. And I couldn't claim the space. I had to actually outbid myself. It's like, shit, I got to bid on this again. So I had to outbid myself. And don't you know, that space went on a long bidding war. And it went for 600,000 Satoshis. I still remember it. And I didn't get it. You know, this dude just bid it all the way up. And I kept bidding on it after that. I was trying to outbid him. But nah, he didn't want that. He wanted that name, that space right here. 600,000 Satoshis. He got it. So that was a lesson learned. And it was like 50,000 Satoshis is when I could have got it too. I had it locked in at 50,000 Satoshis. Can be claimed, but I couldn't freaking claim it. So that is wild. But hey, look. Human readable names, we're not going to use the BC1Q, the 3 to 1, all these long string of characters, Bitcoin addresses. We're not going to use that, you know? We use human readable names for all types of stuff. Hard to read data. Humans, this is what we do. We convert hard to read data into human readable form. And the best protocol will win, you know? This is a Bitcoin layer 2. Permissionless, open source. We're not using anything that's centralized. Bitcoin, everything has to be open. And now look, like I said earlier in the video, people are falling for this centralized Bitcoin treasury companies. And look, people are going to fall for that. But in the long term, in the long run, I think, because nobody knows, you know, I don't know. Nobody knows for sure. But I think that the permissionless, open source, cypherpunk, true decentralized protocols, applications will win out. Now, there was somebody, I was watching a video and somebody said, well, they were talking to Jeff Booth and they were asking a question like, well, how come Linux hasn't won out over Windows, right? Linux not nearly as popular as Windows, which is a shame, really, because I'm starting to learn about Linux. I installed Linux on a couple of my machines now. And I'm going to reinstall another version because there's another version out there. I don't even know what it is, but I have to wipe this one computer anyway. So I'm just going to reinstall it. But anyway, he was asking why Linux hadn't taken over Windows. And Jeff said, well, I thought actually he stumped Jeff a little bit there. First time I seen Jeff stumped. You saw Jeff looked away like, oh, snap. I thought he stumped him a little bit, but Jeff said because it's not a protocol, because it's an application. So it works on protocols, not applications. Now, what's the difference between a protocol and an application? He also said protocols are rare. So this is Space's protocol. Is this an actual protocol? I think it is. What's the difference? From my understanding, an application is maybe something that runs locally. A protocol is just an application that runs on a network. So I could be wrong with that understanding, with that definition. You know, what is a protocol? What is money, right? That's way more broad and open for interpretation. What is money? You know, ask somebody what is money, and that's a hard question to answer. So I would just say, what is money? After years of thinking about it, it's the tool that we use to communicate value. That's what money is. And hey, could that be a definition? Maybe. You know, maybe that's the definition. Maybe someone has another one. Anyway, all right. So Spaces Protocol, 7,747 bids, 2,270 transfers and registers, and 2,362 rollouts. Spaces in auction, SHA-256, can be claimed, but still open for bidding. And you see here, 1,001 Satoshis, one bid. Somebody rolled this out. No bidders. A lot of these are just single bids. AMI, EP, FA, GE, HR, 3 bids on HR up to 10,000 Satoshis. 7 ST and TWO. Claimable in about 17 hours and 10 minutes. So the way it works is you roll a name out here that you want through the command line, which is just a Bitcoin transaction. So let's take a look at TWO2. So you just make an opening bid here. And you can see this one was done in block 904173, July 5th at 14:15, 2:15 p.m. And then if it's the highest bid of the 10, only 10 spaces roll out every day. So if it's the highest in this 10 here, Satoshi-wise, the most Satoshis, and if they're tied, it's just random. So if it's all 1,000 Satoshis, it's just random. So do we have some waiting here? Yeah, we got a couple thousand ones, but they're not expected to get out in the next block. But if it's the highest one, you can bid 2,000 Satoshis. You can bid whatever you want. 1,000 is just the default. Then it rolls out. And you could check all these transactions. You could check these on chain, any block explorer. So you can see the fee rate, you know, you can see everything, right? The op return here. All the stuff, you can see how much Bitcoin that dude has. 267,000 Satoshis he's got. All right, where are we at? Back to 2. Then it rolls out if it's the highest of the 10. And then it stays in this pre-auction. Or no, I'm sorry. The auction phase, it stays in this auction phase for 10 days. So now you got to wait another 10 days for people to see it. So it's in this pre-auction phase where it's just sitting out there. Anyone can bid on it. And after that 10 days, which is coming up, right? Today's the 14th, so this was open on the 15th. So at on the 5th, and it's block time too. It's block time. So it's actually a certain number of blocks. This one's expecting to end in 17 hours, but it actually ends at this block, 905616. And if no one bids on it, then you could just claim it with another command line prompt. If someone does bid on it, it pushes it out 24 hours. So there's no sniping, right? There's no, like, you can't really squat on these names. You can't just roll out. There's been a lot of iterations of domain names on Bitcoin. You have domain names on other chains like ENS, the most popular one. It's on Ethereum. People could just squat on those things, man. They hurry up and register them. Even with ENS, it's like centralized garbage. Someone controls it. The foundation, Ethereum Foundation. You have to buy the domains. You have to buy the names from their server or them. Like, who the hell? You have to buy it from these people that just anointed themselves kings of the protocol. You know, what is this nonsense? And then they can like block names. Oh, single digits, they're not available. 2 digits, they're not available. 3 digits, are they even available? I don't know. Do they start at 3 digits? You know, it's just nonsense. Spaces Protocol, 1-digit, 2-digit curse words. It doesn't matter. There's no rules on this shit, man. It's a permissionless, open, decentralized, secure protocol. It's a Bitcoin layer 2. That's it. It's exactly trying to follow Bitcoin. Now, it's not proof of work like Bitcoin, because that's a flawed strategy too, because everything's going to converge to one. Everything's going to converge to Bitcoin. So that's probably why Ethereum actually moved out from proof of work to proof of stake, because they recognize, hey, everyone's just going to point their hash rate to their hash power to the strongest chain. So let's nip this in the bud now and go even more centralized, right? We'll do proof of stake, which is nonsense, which is garbage. Nobody wants that shit. So this right here, you can see all the stuff. It's transparent as hell. You can claim the space. Then after that, you can issue top level spaces on it. So TWO would be like .com. This is the top level domain, the top level space. And then everything before that, 1 at 2 or .2, but it's not dot. The syntax is the at. It's not a dot. So it would be at TWO. You can issue, you can give it away, you can sell, you can have a business, you can use it for yourself, for privacy. You can keep creating new subspaces, and you can bring those subspaces on chain if you want to. Turn them into a Bitcoin UTXO. Craziness, awesomeness. Recent spaces actions, we got some bids on MF, some Puni codes, BM, and another Puni code. That's the thing too about this. Puni codes, if you're familiar with Puni codes, they're like emojis and stuff. That's also compatible with Spaces Protocol. So you can have an emoji as a Bitcoin public key, as a Bitcoin wallet address. This also works with our Lightning Network. Transfers on KR, LU, CY, and JO. Upcoming rollouts: AW Puni code, SX Puni code, FJ Puni code, BD Puni code, KY, Yogi, CSS, MF, UC, and BM. I thought BM was already rolled out. No? Bitcoin Masters. I think those 2-digit ones are going to be pretty valuable, dude, because they could be a lot of stuff. The 1 digits, obviously, there's like 30 of them, 26 letters, and then you got the 0 through 9 numbers. They were all scooped up super early. But another thing is, use it or lose it. Like, if people don't use these names, you can't squat on them forever. They will expire. They will go back into the protocol. If you don't use them within a year, your name expires. So someone else can pick it up. So that's cool about it too. Subspaces, though, there is no renewal on that. So if you get a subspace, you can bring it on chain, and that never expires. So that's kind of, I don't know, like the top level spaces, should they expire? I don't know, man. Are they going to change it? Is it going to be a soft fork? I think they were talking about soft forks. Maybe we'll see something like that. I don't know. I might bring that up because definitely jealous of subspaces because they do not expire. That's pretty sick. But again, you're not buying it. You're not registering with anyone. Central authority. No one gets that Bitcoin that you use to burn, that you use to register. It just goes to the network. It's not, the miners don't even get it. It's just a donation to the network that makes everyone else's Bitcoin that much more valuable. Just like Satoshi said with his Bitcoin. Lost coins make everyone else's coin. It's just a donation to the network, dog. All right, we got Spaces.market. This is a secondary marketplace for Spaces Protocol. Spaces, space names. And these ones are on sale. You can just buy these ones straight up. Definitely way more expensive, though, than the ones that are open for bidding. You could get the ones open for bidding over there on Explorer if they haven't been rolled out for like $1. As long as no one bids on them, though, it's the thing, people are going to bid on them. But a lot of people are scooping them up. You're seeing some squeak through while no one's paying attention for $1. All right, latest listings here on Spaces.market. Original, LS, Weather, 911, Rice, PR, Reflect, ZI, and natural. All right, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you all for watching.